Very exciting having Miranda here. Usually we get away with a bloke in a dress. It's the real thing.
News for you. I'm Miranda, Hart. In the news this week, on the QVC shopping channel, a guest presenter extols the virtues of the Epson 2000 colour printer. In a local heat of Britain's Got Talent, the audience reacts as a knife thrower narrowly misses Piers Morgan. And after Buckingham Palace is forced to accept stringent budget cuts, there's evidence that the royal train isn't all it used to be. On Ian Hislop's team tonight is a man who hosts a very popular weekly politics show on BBC One. Oh, no, sorry, no, hang on. No, that's Andrew Marr. Please welcome Andrew Neil. And with Paul Merton tonight is a comedian who once said of appearing on panel shows, "If I suspect they put a caption saying silly lefty at the bottom of the screen, I'll give it a miss." Please welcome Mark Steele. And we start with the biggest stories of the week. Ian and Andrew, have a look at this.
Ah, Il Presidente on his bike.
Yeah, official wave. No, that's him stopping the traffic. That's a suitable reaction to him getting the job.
Tony Blair started selling insurance.
About the only job he hasn't taken at the moment.
Well, this is the story of Mr. Blair could well be the next president of Europe, which would mean that we haven't elected Gordon Brown and we won't be electing Mr. Blair, but we'll still have a Prime Minister and a President.
Yeah, but democracy's overrated, isn't it, Andrew?
It is. And Gordon Brown is backing him as well. That's the most amazing thing.
I love the idea, though, that it might be a double bluff. Brown is backing Blair, because if Brown's backing you, you're going to lose, aren't you?
They can't really make him president, can they do that?
Yeah.
Nobody wants it, nobody, everybody, apart from the handful of people whose decision it is going, no, we thought you'd gone, you can't bring him back. It's like if someone horrible from your past, like the teacher that used to thrash you in the shower naked with a belt, suddenly becomes your...
Hang on.
Suddenly becomes your boss again.
Wait, who's naked, you or the teacher? Both of you? But where'd you get the belt from?
It was a public school.
Oh, I see.
I mean, you'd think he wouldn't want the job, given he's already Middle East peace envoy. And after he left, the first thing he did was to make himself a Catholic, which I think most people, I think that was fair enough, because he's got enough to be guilty about.
I thought it was because he wanted to be Pope as well.
We'll put him for it. The poor priest has to take the confession now, has to sit there, oh, 3 bloody days, and we've not even got as far as Iraq.
No, it's not nobody wants him. Berlusconi's very keen.
Yes.
I think his eyesight's going.
Well, it does that to your eyesight, you know.
Blair's got a new nickname according to the Mail.
Boney Blair, after Bonaparte.
Cherie's got a nickname as well, do you know what that is?
Oh, this is a family programme. I don't want to go there.
What's her nickname?
Marie Antoinette.
Cherie Antoinette.
Cherie Antoinette.
It works better if you put her name at the front rather than Marie.
What's her name?
Cherie.
Oh, I thought it was Marie.
Marie Blair.
Just joking.
Oh. It was so dry, I didn't get it. Well, Cherie's the other person who doesn't want him to take the job.
It's a terrible loss of income, isn't it?
Well, that's the thing. According to the Telegraph, his wife has got used to the millionaire lifestyle and does not want to give it up. Oh, she doesn't change, does she? Bless her. So, who's Tony's biggest supporter within Europe?
Was it Angela Merkel?
Yes. According to The Telegraph, Angela Merkel has decided that she could live with Tony. Not sure what Sheree would think of that, but... although Merkel also said that she's not sure she could take having to listen to Mr Flash all the time.
What, he's selling detergent as well, is he? There's nothing he won't do.
Sarkozy is obviously little Mr Muscle.
Oh, what would Brown be, though?
He's the stuff you're cleaning up.
You always feel sorry for him now, though, don't you, Brown?
No.
I do now.
No.
Yeah, because he can't do anything, everything he does, like this week with the territorial army thing, and he's, you know, he's going...
What were you trying to demonstrate with the...
That was the territorial army.
I see.
I know the cuts were bad, but that's really...
All right, man. That actually works.
All right, men, no helicopters, but they have given us one of these.
That'll sort out Johnny Taliban. Just buzz at him, he'll run.
Well, I suppose we ought to have a look at other candidates for the EU presidency.
Yeah. Yes, we should.
So, anyone know who they are?
Jean-Claude Juncker, who's Jean-Claude Van Damme's brother.
Yeah. Doesn't work, does it? Because Jean-Claude is a...
No, it's a surname.
No, surname just doesn't work.
Jean-Claude Killy. He used to be a skier.
Yes, it's true, and then things went worse, it went downhill, and from then on... Terrible.
Well, I've got a list of the other candidates. There's Jan-Peter Balkenende of the Netherlands. Yeah. There he is. Jean-Claude Juncker of Luxembourg. Paavo Lipponen of Finland. And Herman Van Rompuy of Belgium. So the position of president came into existence because of the Lisbon Treaty. Boris Johnson has clear views on the treaty. Well, I say clear. Just have a look at this on BBC Breakfast recently.
If the Conservatives were to win the election next year, by the time you came to power, it would be all over by the shouting, wouldn't it? Because the checks and the polls we've had there saying that's that.
Yeah, well, you know, if we had some ham, we get a ham and eggs. If we had any eggs, you've got to wait to see what happens.
That's pretty clear-cut, I would say.
Well, on the subject of baffling statements, Adam Crozier, the Royal Mail chief executive, was interviewed by Andrew Marr this week.
I think one of the ways for common sense to prevail is for people to stop some of our... recognising we're in a goldfish, to stop some of the nonsensical things that are being said.
Have we as a race lost the power of human speech?
They're just refusing to modernise and accept that the modern postal service is in a goldfish. That's why the post goes missing. They're not on strike at all. They just forget where they are.
Meanwhile, who else is set to join the international lecture circuit, just as Tony Blair might have to give it up?
Is it Vic Mowbray, the former Sheffield United player?
No.
Oh, what he's doing with himself. Remember Vic Mowbray?
I don't know.
No, I think I might have made him up.
Well, wait for it, it's George Bush.
George Bush?
Yeah.
What is he lecturing on?
He is going to be the headline speaker at the Get Motivated seminar in Texas. Here's one of his highly motivating sayings just before he left office. In terms of the economy, look, I inherited a recession, I'm ending a recession. So, Mr. Motivator. Yes, so this is the EU presidency, which Tony Blair has still not quite put himself forward for. What a tease. Go on, Tony. Don't. According to The Telegraph, Luxembourg has joined Belgium and the Netherlands in opposing Blair as president. And as history has shown, when these three get together, their stubborn resistance could last for several days. Paul and Mark, here's yours.
Oh, here we go again.
Presumably, this is about MPs.
MPs?
They're no longer allowed to have a second home at all or employ other members of their family, as they have been wont to do, even if they haven't done any work or their second home has been in Africa or somewhere.
No, you can't employ anybody that's related to you.
And the MPs are saying, yes, but at 11:30 at night, when I suddenly want to do a bit of constituency business, it's handy if the wife's there.
They've got a plan to get over it, though. They're going to do a swap system.
Swap system?
So you can't employ your own wife, but you can employ someone else's wife.
It'd be a reality TV show on Channel 4. Wife swapping in Westminster.
You look quite excited by
I
that.
do. And that doesn't happen very often these days.
My was kicked in early. You might have to take another one.
You told me it was for a headache.
Yeah.
They're all very upset, and they think they've been victimised and they're not appreciated, and they just haven't got it at all.
We were like this from the start. That's why, right from the beginning, with the moat man, he was brilliant because he was, no, I'm absolutely legitimate business and I need a moat as if it's... as if it was important, because otherwise his constituents would go to see him about a problem and they'd leave and they go, well, I don't trust him, he's got a dirty moat.
We had a moat when we were growing up. Nowhere to live, just a moat. The council officially called it a ditch, but we like to sort of big it up a bit, you know.
Yeah. Is it full of water?
No, we couldn't afford water.
I think I've stepped into a Monty Python sketch.
Were you saving up for a portcullis?
Yes, sure, we used to dream of having a portcullis. Fantastic.
Yeah, but all the other kids took the piss.
Yeah, they
But then
did.
when the Saxons came to invade, you were laughing.
We were.
So all the MPs who've flipped their homes and tarted them up and flogged them at huge profit and dodged the capital gains tax, what's going to happen to them?
Nothing.
Yeah, Nick Clegg tried to persuade the new Speaker of the House of Commons to investigate the mortgage fiddles, but he refused. He said it would take too long and require too much work.
But also, he flipped his own house, the Speaker, so he's got no particular interest in going to jail.
Yeah, he flipped it twice.
Really?
So it might be the right way round now. Some MPs' wives are planning a cunning way to get round the ban. Eve Burt, wife of Tory MP Alistair Burt, said, "We have had a lot of conversations about this and we've worked out a massive wife swap." I want to know who the massive wife is.
Imagine you had to wife swap with Nicholas Soames. One woman said sleeping with him was like having a wardrobe fall on you with the key still in it.
Did you just wink? You just winked at me.
I've just taken another blue pill.
Oh, you know what colour they are, then?
Why might there be fewer Tory wives after the next election?
Because there's going to be more women.
Yeah.
Is that the right answer?
No, but if you thought something amusing, share it with us all. You stuck up here on their own.
Yes, there might be more women Tory MPs. Do you want to see some of what the Mail is calling Cameron's cuties?
Yes, please.
Looks more like Boris Johnson's to-do list. There is Mimi Harker. She is a guest presenter on the QVC shopping channel.
She looks good for 71.
There's Debbie Jones. Once, for children in need, she jumped into the world's largest jelly.
That's Nicholas Soames again, isn't it?
There's Rebecca Harris.
Not so good for 16.
Who says she has an unsexy interest in methane storage. So better than a sexy one.
Somebody wanted to, like... Somebody wanted to, like, start right.
I've become President of Europe.
How did David Cameron's wife pretty herself up for the conference earlier this month?
Marks and Spencer's
She wore a dress from
frock
Marks
that
and
was
Spencer's,
specially made for her.
which had been specially made.
See, this is the left and right working in harmony.
This will be good for people watching in stereo.
The dress that she wanted was out of stock,
It was
and
out of
so she called the chief executive
Stuart Rose.
of
Marks and Spencer's.
Thank you.
Rather than an attempt to look sort of like one of the people.
Yeah.
We're all in this dress together.
Yeah. Exactly. We all go to M&S, but when you go to M&S, you can't ring up Stuart Rose and say, I'd like it made in my size. Which is a shame. So it would make shopping cheaper.
Would you like to see Samantha's own must-have fashion accessory? That's the Nancy clutch bag.
Looks like John Prescott's face.
This is the news that under new guidelines, MPs will not be able to claim for second homes or employ members of their family. One ruling will see a ban on MPs employing anyone who's related to them, which could prove a massive problem for all MPs in Norfolk. The ruling means Jackie Smith will no longer be able to employ her husband as her PA, so he'll have to find something else to do with his time. Yeah. The News speaker, John Bercow, has ruled against broadening the inquiry into MPs' expenses. Mr Bercow, incidentally, has a flat in London, and his wife has 2 flats, which she has to wear every time she poses next to him. That'd be like if we get married, Ian.
It would be, but luckily I'm already married.
Yeah, well, we can change that. Don't say you don't know the chemistry. I know it's there. And it's properly scared. Brilliant. So, at the end of that round, 2 points each.
Hey! So I'm just chatting about Vic Mowbray, carry on.
Obsessed with you, love him.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll find a picture of Vic Mowbray and they can bring it up during the course of the show. You know, the reduction team's got to do something while we're doing this. Google him. See if he exists or not. Vic Mowbray. I think he's got blonde hair, short hair, sideburns.
Not related to Tony Mowbray, is he?
Who's he?
Tony Mowbray is the manager of Celtic.
Oh, that's the bloke I'm thinking of.
And so to round 2, the picture spin quiz. Fingers on buzzers teams.
It's Vic Mowbray. Vic Mowbray of Sheffield Wednesday. What was the picture, by the way? Was there a story about people hanging out bread this week? Trying to attract ducks into their underpants? And you dirty washing up and get a duck into your underpants, film it for You've Been Framed, get 300 quid. And the bread in the washing line.
Yeah. I missed that one. Can we see a bit more of the picture spinning?
Yes,
oh, yeah, a bit more of the picture spinning there. Oh.
Are those very small shirts?
Is that a man who's invented an extremely complicated way of making breakfast?
Yes, a couple of Japanese designers have spent 11 days and £900 to come up with a breakfast-making machine. Yeah. Do you want to have a look at the machine in action?
Yeah, well, yes, please. If they've spent 900 quid on it, might as well.
It's like Wallace and Gromit, isn't it?
I think we'll have to abandon this one. It's rubbish.
According to Mr Suzuki, who invented it...
He's the less successful of the Suzuki engineers, really, isn't he?
Well, he did say, actually, this isn't very useful. Things keep falling off or breaking. Before adding, you can just put an egg in a pan, fry it, and you're done. So in other breakfast-related news this week, what has been revealed about the Queen and Prince Philip's morning routine?
She likes a soldier with an egg.
They bring her breakfast in a kind of tatty plastic tray.
Yeah, well, we've got a picture, actually. It's served from a tatty old breakfast tray and mismatched crockery. There it is.
Are those health and safety notices? Be careful when wearing a crown.
How do we know this is the Queen's breakfast tray?
I don't know. But let's just say that it definitely is, because it makes it all more fun.
Yeah, OK. I don't think I can stand this much fun.
Prince Philip's been in the news for something else this week. Do you know what that is?
He killed somebody.
In a fit of pique, did he hurl a Weetabix off the balcony of Buckingham Palace and injured a taxi driver in the ear?
Well, during a visit from President Pratibha Patel of India, Prince Philip was introduced to a business chief, Atul Patel. On seeing his name badge, Philip remarked, "There's a lot of your family in tonight." Sad, really. There's no place for racism in the modern world. And the sooner that Greek twit and his kraut wife realise it, the better. He's not the only one to have been in the news this week for making allegedly racist remarks, is he, Andrew?
I don't know.
I do.
Do you?
Yes, you were in the news.
That's a different point.
It is.
OK, run the tape.
Oh, all right, then.
But first, let's welcome the chocolate hobnob and custard cream of late night. I would like to apologise.
That's an apology from the ginger nut in the middle.
Thank you for your support from the Jammy Dodger. I would like to apologise
We're doing biscuit insults. Think of biscuit insults.
Can I get this apology off my chest?
Yes,
It's
do,
been
please.
on wing. I'd like to apologise for calling Michael Portillo a chocolate hobnob. I didn't think at the time, but I realised it was seriously sexist, and your private life, Michael, is none of my business.
That's not going to be your last apology. Ah, those BBC lawyers. Hello.
So, we'll see if that makes it through to the final cut.
That's the best bit so far. That and Vic Mowbray.
So they pulled it, though, didn't they? The BBC refused to show that bit.
They pulled it from the iPlayer.
Right. So that's a non-statement now. It never happened.
Never happened.
Well, I'm glad no one showed it
You
then.
will all be... You will all be killed as you leave this studio.
That's lowered the mood, hasn't it? You'll all be killed as you leave the studio. Well, to be fair, we didn't pay to get in.
Actually, Paul, I think you're thinking of Vic Mobley. I don't understand why you put that on the autocue at all.
It's kind of slowed things down, hasn't it?
That's Richardson, and you've just been telling everybody you're going to get killed. I'm trying to lighten the mood. That's him.
Yay!
That's the bloke. I'm happy now.
You have no idea if that's him or not.
It is him. That's the bloke I was thinking of. Yeah, that's him. Yeah. No eyes. That's what he used to call him.
Eyes like chocolate hobnobs.
There's your third apology.
So, fingers on buzzers, teams.
That was Boris Johnson, and he wants to build a massive monument to the Olympics out in the East End of London, which has already been nicknamed the Tower of Piffle, after Boris's famous use of piffle.
Where's he going to build it?
Next to the Olympic Stadium.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Just on the flight path.
As a memorial to himself?
Yes.
How does he get these things through, then? Does he sit there in some sort of committee? Oh, I've got this idea, I've got some sort of tower, ham and eggs, and there I'll get it up, and then... well, I think he wants a tower, and then they start building it, is it?
No, he gets it through, because he's a very unusual figure in England. He's elected.
Will it definitely happen?
I don't know. But it'll be 3 years late and come in £25 billion over budget.
And due to an elementary mistake, it will be built underground.
We're going to make such an arse of the Olympics, aren't we? Every other Olympics, it all starts off with fantastic global effects and everything, and the flame will go out on the first afternoon. Boris will be walking through the crowds. Anybody got a light?
I think that'll be fantastic. I mean, trust an old Stalinist to think the Chinese opening was wonderful. Hundreds of
I'm not an old
robotics.
Stalinist. I'm not an old Stalinist.
No, that's very unfair. You were an old communist, weren't you? No, I'm just saying that it's typical that Mark would like that display of regimented Soviet Chinese-style discipline. So I quite like the idea of Boris going and asking someone for a light.
You make a little joke about Boris Johnson and suddenly you're a long-standing supporter of Mao's Red Army, aren't you?
The show's suddenly changed into a war trial. Where were you on October the 14th, 1938? Come on.
I invaded Japan and I thought I'd cover it up with a joke about Boris Johnson. I'm sorry.
Talking of Boris, did anyone see his recent feisty exchange with Paxman?
It was a month ago. This programme has the word news in the title.
Yeah.
Well, your programme's got the word politics in the title. Were it to be called the Daily Biscuit Show.
Ah, wow. Ian Duncan Smith.
Are we having a look at Boris?
You are seeking to intermediate between me and the public about these questions about his background, his final, all
Boris,
this
I
sort of
tell
stuff.
you what, if you don't want any intermediation, why don't you take the camera there? Take the camera and tell them. Tell the camera, tell the public what sort of a chap David Cameron is.
He's a first-rate chap. He's a very good guy. He will deliver a fantastic, committed and determined Conservative government and give this country the new leadership that it is crying out for after a decade, unrepentant, unbelievable Labour government.
The thing I love about that moment is the exact moment where the teacher says, well, if you're so clever, you come out and teach the class. And then the person does, and it's better than the teacher.
Yes, this is Boris Johnson's so-called Piffle Tower, due to be completed in time for the 2012 Olympics. 12 public artworks have been commissioned by the Cultural Olympiad, including in Coventry, a giant figure of Lady Godiva, though the City Council rejected Boris's suggestion of adding a giant figure of himself, also on the horse, also naked. Fingers on buzzers, teams.
This is the man who wants to be President of Scotland. President Mohammed Al Fayed. There he is. The world-famous Clan McFugger. No, this is serious. He said that he wants to be President of Scotland if it's independent, and his policies are blaming the Duke of Edinburgh for the murder of Diana. That's the policy.
He thinks that Scotland was discovered by Egypt, by Egyptians.
Yeah.
Many, many years ago.
And was it?
Are the Egyptians mean?
I'm glad it was you making that joke. I think it's a policy to Scotland.
I'd like now to apologise to the people of Scotland.
I think the best thing to do would just be to have the word apology underneath you every time you appear.
So, no, that's it, isn't it?
Yes, he reckons the Scots are Egyptians, and that's the truth. That's what he says. Yes, he believes they're descended from an Egyptian princess called Scota, said to have fled from Egypt with her 2 sons and the stone of Scone. Sadly, the princess died young. Mysterious circumstances, fear to know. Same old. Same old.
So this is just nonsense.
But Al Fayed is going to go ahead and spend £16,000 on a statue of Scota in a kilt. And according to the Sunday Times, he said, I will place a statue any place the Scottish people want. They should stick it where the sun don't shine.
Dumfries.
Fingers on buzzers, teams.
It's Jack Warner as George Dixon, of Dixon and Doc Green. He first appeared in the film The Blue Lamp, made in 1950 by Ealing Studios, and he was killed outside a cinema, as was the conclusion of the film, by a very young Dirk Bogarde, who was making one of his early film appearances as the villain. And
repetition of film.
And somewhere in, let's say, Leeds, or is it Middlesbrough, one of the two, they've banned police saying evening all because different cultures, evening means different things. That's right, isn't it?
That's absolutely correct.
Yes.
Yes.
So they're banning the police from saying something they never really say.
On the grounds that it's culturally insensitive to mention morning, evening, afternoon to various segments of the British population who've got no idea, really, what time it is.
Well, you know, we start mucking around, we put the clocks back just to fool people who haven't been here for a while. They come into work an hour late on Monday, they're sacked, you know. Nobody tells them. We keep it to ourselves.
Well, when does evening start for you, then?
Well...
I think they're saying that it depends what time you have your main meal.
People sitting at home wishing I wish it'd be 8 o'clock and start on these mints. I did my own title, subtext for that. Half 8 minutes. Where did this happen, then?
Warwickshire is where these police
Yes.
guidelines have been... There's a book about this thick on use of language.
A handbook on language from Warwickshire.
Where Shakespeare's from. Yeah. Now is the winter of our discontent made glorious summer, body son of you.
You've forgotten the end bit, evening all.
It says a dagger I see before me, the handle towards me hand, come let me clutch thee, I have thee not yet, I see thee still. That's how they used to do it. You know, that's the first time in my life that O-level English has come in handy.
Have you seen this man?
His name is Gok Wan, isn't it?
Yes,
That's his
yeah.
name.
He's a style guru.
Yeah.
Oh, is he?
He does those programmes How to Look Good Naked.
It's a stand in subdued light, isn't it? These days.
Complete darkness.
He is giving fashion advice to police women in Sussex to improve their confidence. If you want to improve your confidence, that a gun would be better. This is the new police initiative to ban the phrase even and all. This story had the newspapers harking back to the 1950s and the good old days of Dixon of Dock Green, when the friendly village copper could send kids on their way with a firm clip round the ear, and if things got really out of hand, he could always have them hanged. So, time now for the odd one out round. Queen Victoria, Sarah Lyons, Saddam Hussein and Boris Yeltsin.
I think this must be something to do with being drunk in public, because I recognise the picture of the woman on the top right there. She's dancing in the middle of a city centre and she's got a sort of her underwear around her ankles, to put it politely and accurately. Queen Victoria was... Oh. Here's look, Morton College, Oxford. When did this turn into University Challenge? What's going on here?
No, it's not being drunk in public, it's about wearing underpants. Yeltsin, Clinton admitted that he'd found him in the middle of the night, wandering around in his underpants, having lost his trousers.
Wandering around in his underpants? How big were these underpants?
And Saddam Hussein was found by the American soldiers in his underpants.
Ah, they should have looked there in the first place.
The odd one... The odd one out is Queen Victoria.
Are you suggesting that Queen Victoria never wore underpants?
Yeah.
It's that they've all had their pants displayed in public, apart from Welsh teaching assistant Sarah Lyons, who claimed she was displaying someone else's when she appeared in the papers like this last week. Lyons denied that she was drinking when this photo...
Well, she clearly hasn't got a drink in her hand.
And her father told The Sun that the pants were not hers, but a pair of David Hasselhoff comedy pants. Queen Victoria's underpants were sold at auction last month.
My God, that's big. Look at it. Somebody bought a pair of old underpants from 100 years ago.
A Mr. J. Prescott.
The Sun newspaper printed pictures of Saddam Hussein in prison dressed in his white Y-front underpants. We can't show you a picture of Saddam in his Y-fronts, it's too expensive. Do you want to see an artist's impression?
Yes.
Have a look.
Unsigned, I noticed.
Bill Clinton recently revealed that Boris Yeltsin got so drunk during a visit to Washington that he was found outside the White House at night in his underpants. You know what he was doing?
He was looking for his trousers, wasn't he?
Well, he was trying to hail a cab to find a pizza. Yeah, the incident happened while Yeltsin stayed at Blair House, the guest quarters for visiting foreign leaders, and that gives us the perfect excuse
Yep.
to remind you that the manager at the guest house is our old friend, Randy Bumgardner. Time now for the missing words round, which this week features as its guest publication Asphalt Now. It used to be Garden Now, but it took too much effort to maintain. And we start with Gordon Watt hurt like hell.
Is it headbutting a nun?
He throws things around in Downing Street, like staplers and mobile phones.
You're actually thinking of the wrong Gordon.
Burning my finger on a pan.
My face job hurt like hell. This is Gordon Ramsay, of course, who had his wrinkles smoothed over. When Ramsay announced that he needed his face filling in, he was inundated with offers from former staff and viewers all over the world. Next, what beef juice and cabbage water?
Asphalt substitute for.
Hell's beef juice? That's gravy, isn't it? Beef juice. The perfect recipe for gravy is beef juice and cabbage water.
Yes.
Is it?
Yes.
Oh.
According to the Express, scientists at the Royal Society of Chemistry they've come up with what they believe is the ideal recipe for traditional British gravy. Meanwhile, the ladies in the Royal Society canteen have come up with a breakthrough cure for cancer. Next, what a solution to leaky flange?
Asphalt, asphalt, asphalt.
Is it rubber trousers?
Oh, don't be...
It is pullover flange cover. Next, Prezza. He's what?
He's speaking at next year's Asphalt conference.
Yes.
Inasmuch as asphaltingment, that we are laying of, there shall be cat's eyesness that shall not be, inasmuch as the future of asphalt is whatever it is I've always said, John.
He's the #1 pin-up in Luton.
He's a stuck-up northerner. Yes. Next, Bagpuss refuses what?
Oh, remake. He's not coming back. The TV people wanted Bagpuss to come back. Bagpuss said, no, listen, I did my bit in the 70s, I'm relaxed, I bought a few houses, I've got some property. Leave it for other younger cloth cats.
CGI remake is the answer, yes. And finally, what the movie?
E. coli. No?
No, come on, you know the answer to this.
Asphalt.
Yes.
Oh, no! Oh, blimey.
Is it a road movie?
According to the magazine, Asphalt the Movie provides an introduction to asphalt, how roads are made, types of asphalt, maintenance and sustainability. Ooh, wow, wonder what they're holding back for Asphalt 2. So, the final scores are Paul and Mark have 8 and Ian and Andrew have 9. But before we go, there's just time for the caption competition.
Is he saying every business has to start somewhere, Sandra?
On which note, we say thank you to our panellists, Ian Hislop, Andrew Neil, Paul Merton and Mark Neal. And I leave... Oh, who?
Love child!
During the course of this programme, I've become a Stalinist and related to Andrew Neil.
Yeah.
Well, on balance, what would you say was the worst?
OK, I'm a Stalinist.
I'll say that again, then.
Yeah, do. It's funny.
On which note, we say thank you to our panellists, Ian Hislop and Andrew Neal, Paul Merton and Mark Steele. And I leave you with news that in Los Angeles, as Brad and Angelina go skating in the park, the family struggles to keep up. There's disappointment for the Obamas when, under the pressure of the world's media, the puppy mishears the command, sit. And during a royal visit to Birmingham, the Queen thanks her lucky stars that a sore throat meant Philip had to stay at home.
And Have I Got News for You continues on Friday at 9 over on BBC One. A rather large disaster for Nicola in the first week of the new job means a tirade and a half from Malcolm. Just you wait. The brand new series of The Thick of It is next on BBC Two.
No mention of A.A. Gill shooting this baboon then.
Oh, yes.
What a pity it wasn't the other way round.